Welcome to Coming About with David Paragamian, the podcast that dives deep into the minds of leaders who have transformed their businesses and industries, paving the way for a better future. Here's Dave.
Welcome back to our captivating chat with Ed Mitzen. Ed is a close friend and a phenomenal business leader who has left behind a lasting legacy in the world of business and advertising, and now in the world of philanthropy as well. We've been exploring his amazing journey that led him to become an author, an entrepreneur, and a kind-hearted donor who believes in giving back to the community and making a difference in the lives of others. Ed, you've created these incredible businesses, not once, but twice in terms of fascinating advertising agencies, and now focused on building this nonprofit organization. What's the best part of building and running these organizations, and what's been the most challenging parts for you?
The best part, I think, is seeing the company grow, seeing us bring in a lot of new people, and seeing folks that started with us as a receptionist that now runs a department and is making more money than she ever dreamed of, and just giving people the opportunity to excel and thrive, and seeing them blossom in their careers. I get a tremendous amount of enjoyment out of seeing people develop and reach potentials that they didn't even know that they could. I think the negative is, unless you've started businesses, people don't understand how unbelievably stressful it is with respect to cash flow and making sure that you've got enough money in the bank to pay payroll, especially as you're starting out. And to the staff, you always have to present this feeling that everything is great and you're doing awesome and life is good. And meanwhile, you're sneaking off to run to the bank to see if they'll loan you another $10,000 for 2 weeks until the client check comes in. So there's a lot of stress, financial stress early on, and even as you get bigger, that you have to hide from a lot of people, and you bear the brunt of all of that stress without, you don't have anybody to bitch to, right? Like there's nobody above you that you can complain to, or just blow off some steam. So you have to sort of internalize and absorb all that and just take it. And that can be crushing. You're waking up at 3 a.m. going, oh my gosh, if I don't get that check tomorrow, how am I going to cover this bill, the Amex bill or the phone bill? And that can be very, very challenging at times. And I think the key is to just every day, every problem has a solution, and you figure it out and you just keep going. And I was very blessed. Everything seemed to work out pretty well, but it can be soul crushing, that pressure that no one sees, but you feel every day.
That totally resonates for me, and I'm sure for the listener, because I think we sometimes think, how do you develop that muscle, that courage to take risks, to power through the difficult situations? And I think about in my own life, the difficult things that have happened, whether it's personal family losses, whether it's professional, we all have these difficult things. And something you said at the end there, that knowing that it will be okay. I will get up in the morning, I will apply myself, and it will be okay. I may need to pivot, I may need to accept something to the left or something to the right, or I may need to adapt, but it's going to be okay. And so I think part of it is what we're really talking about without saying it, so I'll bring it out in the cold light of day, is resilience. Right? It's about that grit of just continuing to believe that things are going to be okay. I wonder, Ed, if you can point in your own life. For me, I would take it all the way back to my family, to think about things I learned at an early age from my mother and fathers, where I would point to my grit reserve. Where would you point to that in your life?
My father passed away when I was 18, and I think that at that moment, once you go through the initial phases of grief, you realize that you just got to keep going, right? Like, he was my best friend. He was the mentor. He was the guy that I tried to impress. I've heard people say that he was my greatest fan and my greatest foe, right? Like, he was the guy that would always show up at every Little League game and, pat me on the back. But I also if I disappointed him, it was the worst thing in the world and he would let me have it. And I think as you go through something like that at a young age or at any age, you realize that you just got to keep punching through things. And life is hard. It's going to throw you some curveballs. And you just have to keep, just plugging away. And you can't give up. You can't curl up in a little ball. You just have to go forward. And, I know you've had loss in your life too. And for me, that loss was obviously an incredibly awful thing for me, but it also taught me that I just got to keep going and just keep pushing forward.
Thank you for sharing that story. And yes, it does sound like we were raised by the same father in a different household. But I also wonder whether, and I'll make a pivot here towards what you're now spending a lot of your time on. I know you still retain chairperson responsibilities over Fingerpaint Group, but I know that you and your wife, Lisa, have co-founded Business for Good. And I want to talk a little bit about that because this whole common thread of doing right by people, taking care of people, giving people a hand up. You talked about someone that started as a receptionist and became a much more senior person in the agency. Seeing the good in people, seeing the positive in people, seeing the ability to lift people up, to take them to places they didn't think they could get to. I know you've done that in your agencies. I know you're now doing that in a much broader sphere in New York State, in the communities in which you live. Tell us all a little bit about Business for Good and what you and Lisa are doing there.
Yeah, so when we sold part of our company a few years ago to a private equity firm, we found ourselves in a financial position that we never dreamed of. Lisa and I, philanthropy and giving back has always been part of our lives. We've always made it a big priority because we feel so blessed. But then when we got this windfall financially, we sat down and said, what do we want to do? And we took care of our kids. We bought a nice second home. I live on a farm in upstate New York. It's like a rescue farm. And basically, we decided that we're good. Like, we don't need a house in Deer Valley that we're going to use 2 weeks a year, or a place in the south of France, or a giant boat. So, we're very happy with what we have. We feel incredibly lucky. And so with all the money that was remaining, we wanted to start a nonprofit. But we weren't going to be content just writing checks and sort of passively sitting by and hope that the nonprofits that we're supporting do the right thing with the money. So it's not to say that we don't give to the United Way and the Red Cross and certain hospitals and things like that, because we do. It's obviously very important. But we wanted to create a foundation that helped people that we felt have been left behind and didn't have the same advantages that we had to succeed financially. I like to tell this story. When I first got out of college, I lived in this really crappy apartment in downtown Albany. And I was bringing home $600 a month. I was working at a hospital. My rent was $330. I had a $113 student loan. And the balance was for food. And, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a car. But, I knew that eventually I would get out of there. And I would be able to, through hard work and through getting a career off the ground, I knew I wasn't going to be living in this cockroach-infested apartment forever. But if you go a block over, there are people that live there that still live there and never got the chance to get out. And Lisa and I were very in touch with the advantages that we had. So we started this foundation, Business for Good, with the idea that we were going to use business and entrepreneurship to show people in underserved communities that they can get up the income curve through business and starting their own companies or growing the businesses that they already had. And we have a staff now of about 25 people. And we're doing some amazing work, and we've met some of the most amazing people. Albany, New York is an interesting place. It's like a lot of small cities where you've got wealthy areas, and a block over, you've got the projects, and you've got people living in, subsidized apartments, on food stamps, and, getting housing subsidies and childcare help if it's possible. and they just need a little bit of help to get out of their situation. And so we've worked with a lot of businesses. We've helped people start companies. The one example I love to share is we work with a flower shop called Blooms by Marie. It was started by this woman, Marie Campbell, Black woman, put 4 kids through college, single mom, and was a nurse at Albany Medical Center for 30 years. And she had this little flower shop business on Delaware Avenue in Albany. And we came in, we gave her a grant so she got a little bit of air cover. We helped to redo her website. We refrigerated her van so she can transport flowers in the summer. But more importantly, we leveraged our network and relationships to help drive business to her. So we would talk about her business all the time so that folks that I knew in the community would patron her store. And I love to tell this story. So I'm good friends with the gentleman who runs Albany Medical Center. He's a great guy. And I called him up and I said, Dennis, I just met a woman who worked for you for 30 years and now has a flower shop down the street. I said, who does your gift shop business and special event flower business and things like that? And he said, I don't know, we farm it out. And I said, well, can you take a look and maybe get her in there? And just that one phone call, she's now doubled her business in a matter of a year. And it didn't cost me a lot of money. It was just networking and helping this woman to sort of expand her business through relationships. And we've got countless examples of that where we've helped soul food kitchens expand, and we've helped a funeral parlor add a second funeral director and expand their repast area where people come and celebrate after the service. We've helped many different folks. We helped a single mom start an iced tea business that she wanted to start in her grandmother's name. And we bought her all the bottling equipment, and she's off and running, and we're doing the marketing for her and helping with distribution and things like that. And we're trying to basically create this ecosystem in downtown Albany where all of these businesses can funnel work to one another. We are also trying to bring in, for lack of a better word, the white business people that I know to say, yeah, I know you have your favorite lawyer, but here's 2 Black women attorneys that started their own private practice. Can you throw some work their way? They do all of our legal work for the foundation now. They're phenomenal lawyers, and just trying to share that wealth and expand the networks for these people. And one of the things that we also did is we helped found the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce. And we bought a beautiful building in downtown Albany. We renovated it, gave them capital and marketing support. And they've got the nicest Black Chamber building in the country now, right in Albany, New York. And I'm hoping that will become a springboard and an incubator for all of these businesses to be able to prosper in areas and neighborhoods that have been forgotten. That's a lot to digest, I know.
No, I'm really grateful you shared those specific stories and details, including the Blooms by Marie, et cetera. And the overriding thought that I have to share is, actually, Ed, your father's not gone at all. Your father is actually alive in all of these things that you're doing, that cheering from behind the chain link fence at the Little League game, and the cajoling in the parking lot of what you could have done better and what you should do better next time, and the things he's proud of, and lifting someone up, which is what he did for you and inspired you. You've been doing that your entire career, probably starting from lifting that 1-year-old up off the floor when you mistakenly let him fall. But I know when I was early on in my advertising side career, you helped lift me up. I know you've done that for thousands of people across the agencies that you've led. And now in Business for Good, what you and Lisa are doing in terms of really giving people that opportunity for them to step up and accomplish. And how does it feel, that view from behind the chain link fence while you're watching all these hundreds and thousands of people that you're helping lifting up, Ed? That's fantastic.
Oh, it's an amazing feeling. It's definitely the most rewarding thing I've done in my career, and I know that this will be it. I mean, this is our passion. We're having a ball. It's a lot of work. It's a lot easier to just write checks, but the rewards are immeasurable. And we've met so many amazing people, amazing friends, and there were parts of Albany that 3 years ago, if I'm being honest, I was afraid to drive into. And now I go there and I feel like I'm home. Like I know a lot of the people there, and I'm at ease, and I feel like I'm part of that community. And it's been an amazing journey. Lots of learnings, lots of mistakes along the way. Said some things that were offensive that I didn't even know were offensive. So it's been a little bit of a learning journey, but we're having an absolute ball.
You know, what's wonderful as I think about this and for the listener and how it connects to the theme of coming about, yours is a resume professionally that's got so many of these pivots, as I call them, where you started out in that apartment in Albany for $300, then you were carrying a bag, then you were a marketing person, then you created an agency, then you created another agency, now you're leading a nonprofit. It is a resume that does not look necessarily linear at all, but all of those decisions are grounded on these core tenets of the hard work, the belief that things are going to be right, the belief that you can help other people and impact their lives, and always, of course, shooting straight and telling the truth, which is, sort of the hallmark of Ed Mitzen. I'm just excited to watch the Business for Good unfold and the additional chapters that are ahead for you. I'll give you any last word you want to add before we wrap, Ed.
No, I'm appreciative of the time. You've been a great friend for many, many years, and it's exciting to share the story, and I'm excited to see we're kind of with the foundation. We're sort of building the plane while we're flying it. So I don't know what's going to be around the corner, but I know that it'll be fun and rewarding, and we'll meet a lot of super great people along the way. And hopefully what we do will create some inspiration for other people in their communities to do more. I mean, we're not going to solve hunger with more food pantries, right? We've got to get people up the income curve, and a lot of the societal ills will fall away if we can do that. So that's what we're all about.
Well, you've built a lot of planes while flying them, and they've all been terrific planes. So anxious to see where this lands. I'll leave it there. Ed, thanks so much for being a guest today on Coming About.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And that wraps up another episode of Coming About. If you like the show, please take a moment to subscribe so you'll get notified of additional episodes. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you left us a review so that other folks like yourself can learn more about the show. See you next time on Coming About.
This has been Coming About. We hope these conversations have left you feeling empowered and ready to take your organization to the next level. To speak with Dave about your business transformation or to learn more about Health Monitor Network, go to healthmonitornetwork.com. And don't forget to check out his book, Coming About, How We Transformed a Major Media Company and the Lessons There for You. Available wherever books are sold. Coming About with David Paragamian is a production of Advantage Audio.